I would like to call the business meeting of the Portland Board of Public Education to order. It is Tuesday, October 15th, 2024. We are meeting in a hybrid format. Board Member Grant and Figdor will be here late, and I believe Board Member BerryDunn is also just running a couple minutes behind. Board Member Bilyeu is traveling and will not be in attendance tonight. So Dr. Warren, will you please call the roll?
Member Ali?
Here.
Member Bilyeu, absent. Vice Chair Bondo?
Présente.
Member BerryDunn? Member Figdor? Member Grant? Member Knorr?
Here.
Member Opperman?
Here.
Student Representative Hayden?
Here.
Student Representative Kantiba? Student Representative Knight? Student Representative McDonald? Student Representative Rosado? Student Representative Kunku? Chair Lentz.
Present. The Portland Public Schools recognizes the original inhabitants of the land on which our city and schools stand. The Wolastoqiyik, or Maliseet, Micmac, Penobscot, and Passamaquoddy tribes, known collectively as the Wabanaki Confederacy, or People of the Dawnland. We are honored to have Wabanaki children among our students today. And as a district, we are committed to making the past, present, and future of Wabanaki peoples visible in our schools and classrooms. And up next, we're going to start rotating who reads the mission and our definition of equity. So we have a little bit less of my voice. And tonight, Student Representative Hayden is going to read both of those for us. So take it away.
Thank you, Chair. Our mission, the Portland Public Schools is responsible for ensuring a challenging, relevant, and joyful education that empowers every learner to make a difference in the world. We build relationships among families, educators, and the community to promote the healthy development and academic achievement of every learner. Now, our definition of equity. Equity is all people being held to high expectations and having access to opportunities that are reflective of their individual needs, identities, and experiences. Equity is achieved in Portland Public Schools when there are no identifiable differences in outcomes and experiences for any population subgroup. Thank you.
Thank you. And now we're going to move on to public comment. So if there's anyone here in the room that would like to give public comment, you can come up to the podium or you can raise your Zoom hand, but I don't see any Zoomers tonight. Give it just a couple more beats. Okay, I'm seeing no one at the podium and no one on Zoom. I'm going to go ahead and close public comment for tonight and move on to my remarks. First, I just wanted to acknowledge Indigenous Peoples Day, which took place yesterday. I think the more I'm involved in the district, the prouder I am of our Wabanaki curriculum and all the experiences that our students get to have. I think most folks know that I have a third grader who got to go to the Gambo Dam this year. And up until this point, I'd always heard from young people what a magical day it was, but getting to hear the play-by-play from my third grader, I just understood it in a whole other level. So I just wanted to thank all the folks that make that possible and the ways that we are incorporating Wabanaki history and present history into our district. Secondly, I just wanted to make sure folks are aware of a couple of upcoming opportunities to be in conversation with the board and with district leadership. So we have upcoming our community conversations, and they are taking place on October 16th at Deering High School, November 6th at East End Community School, November 20th, which is a virtual session, December 5th at King Middle School, and December 11th at Lincoln Middle School. And there will be board members available at each of those sessions to kind of hear what's on your mind and answer any questions that you might have about what's going on in the district. And then we also have upcoming opportunities to be involved in a conversation about Buildings for Our Future and to get more information about what is happening with that initiative. And there's two sessions for parents and community, Wednesday, October 23rd, and then October 30th, which is a virtual session. And there's also an online form. So if you have thoughts about how this initiative is unfolding, you can take that online feedback form, and it's on the website. And in that same vein, I just wanted to make sure that the board was aware that the governor has just launched a committee to look at the way that school construction is funded across the state. So there's going to be a 13-member committee that is launching because I think there's been enough kind of consistent messaging that the way it's working right now doesn't work. So I'll make sure to keep everybody updated on that as it unfolds. And then finally, oh, wait, not finally, because I know Dr. Ahmed is going to talk about this later, but I just wanted to congratulate all of the staff that applied for the Stephen and Tabitha King Foundation grant and got $25,000 for great library books across the district. That is a hard grant to get. It's super competitive, so just really thankful for all the work that went into that. And then finally, make sure to vote on November 5th or before. Polls are open right now. Maybe not right now in this very moment, but right now, and are open every day until Election Day on November 5th. And please remember that you can register to vote on Election Day. And with that, I don't think we have Representative Rosario today, so I'm going to turn it over to Superintendent, please.
Good evening, everybody. Just going to start by just acknowledging the fact that it's both been a great start to the school year, and it's hard to believe that it is October 15th. The year has been going fast. Today is actually the first day that boilers have to be fired up and heat is on in the building. And we're keeping it a little bit cool here this evening to make sure that everybody stays awake as we go through our first late night meeting here on October 15th. I'm going to talk about three things tonight. They'll be pretty quick, but one is give an update on where we're at with Strategic Plan Initiative 5.2, which is one of our truly exciting ones, but this is about our central office roles and communication. The second is there's an action item on the agenda for tonight around the BerryDunn contract, and so I'm just going to give an update on that and an ask there. And then third is, as Chair Lentz mentioned, it's actually hard to believe, but the next board meeting is on Election Day. And so wanted to share an update with the community and with the board about what we are currently doing in the school district to make sure that we are prepared leading up to Election Day and after Election Day. First, as we've committed to with the board, we're going to provide updates on each of our strategic plan initiatives at least 2 times throughout the year. The largest part of these updates will happen in what we call our progress monitoring. These will happen twice a year, once in November and again in March, in what we call bigger step backs, where we'll truly look at whether or not we're on track to meet our ambitious goals for the year. Those happen particularly focused around measures that have outcomes for student academic and culture pieces, where there are initiatives that are more what I think of as internal facing, such as this one tonight. We're going to do updates in either board updates such as this or in committee updates. And so tonight I'm just going to provide you a quick update on Strategic Initiative 5.2, and actually our Executive Director of Equity is going to provide one on 4.1 as well tonight. What you can see on 4.2, as it says there, is the initiative reads that this is to clarify central office roles and responsibilities, including decision-making rights, and implement improved systems for communication to increase the effectiveness of support for school staff, students, and families. This is something that we're in the design phase for this year. And so last year, as part of the budget process, aligning to our strategic plan and making sure that we're as efficient and effective as possible, we did some realignment of our central office. And so part of this is about making sure that we're really clear about what our roles and responsibilities are. Second is about making sure that we have a delineation between where decision rights sit between central office and schools, so that we truly are empowering principals and making sure that it's clear where that responsibility sits. And then third is that there's clear communication that exists between the central office and schools, and central office and families, and schools and families, so that people are in the know about what's happening in our school and that we're as efficient as possible. And as I said, this is in the design phase. So part of what I'm going to share with you tonight is about where we've identified areas that we're digging in, and we may not have yet the answer, but it's where we're looking in. As part of this, as I said, we're working to clearly define the roles and responsibilities. And so what you can see here below is where we've continued and have gotten engagement feedback to date. And so we've talked to schools about where our central office and our network teams do their work. What we've heard from school leaders is they want clarity around decisions that are theirs to make, that people in our schools don't always know or see our central office leaders. And so thinking about how do we make them visible and have ideas about what their roles are. That we want to make sure that we have responsiveness both between central office and schools. And so we talk about that in the idea of mutual accountability so that it goes both ways. And that our central office teams and our team members need clarity around exactly what their roles are and how the new structure is designed to work. And that you can see that there's a number of resources and documents that are currently under development to support this work. There's also work that's been going on to strengthen our internal and external communication. This includes looking at the 4 communication streams that are identified on the left: the Friday footnote, the staff bulletin, department updates, and the superintendent's board update that exists right now is all internal communication flows. One of the things, and actually before I go to the next slide, is within each of these communication approaches, we've been looking at the internal analytics to be able to tell what number of people open them, what their reach is, and whether or not we're able to see if folks are following up on what is shared within those, to see what the impact is. One of the things with that is we did a lot of work last year around standard operating procedures and also thinking about how are we memorializing those and making them accessible. And so part of this is not just about having communication that gets pushed out, but also where can staff go when they have questions or when they need to access resources. And so now if you're a staff member, you can access what we call our staff hub, which is on our website and has the current SOPs or standard operating procedures available right there, ready for clicking to be able to access at any time. And so what you see here is a screenshot, but if we were to pull this down and to show the live, up at the top right in this space, I guess you can't, yeah, you can see my mouse moving. You would see a little thing that says Staff Hub. They click on it, and then they're able to see standard operating procedures for HR, operating, tech. They're able to see it for communications. They're able to see it for each of the departments. And so they're able to now access those. This is a significant improvement from what used to be a directory that told you who to reach out to, but not necessarily what the procedures were. This is also still a work in progress, but it now is a repository so that as we continue to develop standard operating procedures, there's one spot to go. We're also looking at our external communication systems and making sure that they're as strong and effective as possible. And so we're looking at 5 of them right now and thinking about how we can continue to strengthen and improve them. And so we're looking at our community newsletter, our school or staff-facing newsletter, how we're leveraging Reach My Teach, our website and social media, and then our use of press statements and overall media engagement. And I just want to give you an example of how we're doing that analysis on the next slide. So our community newsletter gets between 2,000 and 4,000 views on any given month. And you can see that here. On the left side is you can see our views. Our views is how many times a page is opened. And then on the right is the number of active users. Those are distinct users that look at it. And so our analytics allows us to dig into this. And so we can look at this by month, and we're testing out different structures, such as how the email is sent, in what format it's sent, how the structure of the story is set up to see if that impacts whether or not somebody is likely to click on and view a page. And so we're digging in to see how we can change our engagement with our newsletter to drive it up. We're also looking at how Reach My Teach allows us to leverage two-way communication between schools and families. And so what I'm showing you here is some district-wide data, but we're also looking at our schools individual to see where we have specific bright spots to be able to leverage. And so just to give you a sense of how much communication we have going on in our schools, and this varies pretty widely between schools, but Reach My Teach in September, we had 19,600 users. You can see a small number of them are admin, slightly bigger staff, and then guardians in green and students in blue. You can see that in total, there were 303,000 communications that were sent out. The vast majority of them through email. That was a surprise for me. I would have guessed that most of them were through text based on what I get as a parent. But actually, the vast majority of them actually go through email. And then below that, you can see that there are 34,000 messages. The difference between that 303,000 is if I were to send out a message that goes to 5 people, that is 5 total communication, but 1 message. What you can see below that 34,000 is it's maybe a little bit hard to see in the screen, but there's 19,000 messages that originate from the school and go out. And there's 15,000 messages that originate from the house back to the school. I think that's something just to really highlight here in terms of the power of two-way communication, is that so often we're used to as schools sending out a message and having parents and guardians as a passive recipient. But what you see actually in Reach My Teach is we have almost the same number of messages coming back as we have going out. And so we do truly have some two-way communication going on there. And so we're looking at this again to think about where we see that. We have not gotten yet to a phase, because we're in the design place here, where if you were to ask me, based on this, what changes are we going to make? That's our next phase of this, is to really dig in and to say, now how do we improve our communication? And how do we get this further? That is the work of Grace and her team. They are working with a consultant to think about how do we do this with our strategic plan to push out this message, but how do we also have a calendar that thinks about each month, what are the key messages, what are the key events that we are working towards. You actually would have seen that a little bit as September. There was a big push around our, I can't think of what it's called now, but our free or reduced lunch form information, right? That was a big push in September. You will see a big push when it comes to kindergarten enrollment and high school selection and all of those pieces. So you will see that sort of cadence that also comes out. But Grace's team is working on mapping out all of that, but also just thinking larger about what the systems are. And this is how we're trying to use data to start to inform that work within this. Okay, so that's where we're at on 5.2 as we think about both our own structures and where the effectiveness is, but also our communication. Tonight, when we get to it, I'm going to make a recommendation that we table the BerryDunn contract until the November 5th, 2024 meeting. There's 4 pieces that I want to highlight for that reason. And actually, before I do that, just for folks that are new to this conversation or are just joining, there was a proposal at the October 1st meeting to contract with BerryDunn to support, or really to take the lead on our continued work to reconcile our historical MainePERS accounts. It's a significant amount of work. We need additional capacity for it. And so we have proposed as staff to contract with BerryDunn to do that work. This tonight would be the second read and where the board would vote to approve that contract. I'm proposing that we table that until November 5th for 4 reasons that are listed below. The first is that the anticipated cost for this is $500,000, and that was not budgeted because it was not anticipated when we did the budget this past school year. And so the first is just because it's so significant and unbudgeted, we want to take time to make sure we get it right. The second is that we continue to engage our lawyers and accounting firm to fully understand our options for moving forward that large and unbudgeted amount. And there's several options that are being discussed, and we have not fully landed on exactly what the right path is, or even what the right possible paths are forward. They include potentially a public referendum, an audit finding, a vote by the city council, and also looking to see if it's possible to do it within a traditionally allowed 5% budget shift. And so because we don't have clarity from our lawyers and accounting firm yet on that before the board votes, I'd like to make sure that we have that for you. The third reason is that the Finance Committee on October 21st, so next week, will receive a budget presentation that will include year-to-date spending. And so that'll give you a more full picture on exactly where we're at with our budget. And so I'd like for you to have that as we consider this increased cost. And then fourth is that this work to reconcile MainePERS is continuing. And so this signing this contract or going forward with this contract today is not getting slowed down. As we have started a pilot approach around this. And so it's not slowing down. And I'd like to actually go a little bit further in the pilot before we finalize this. And so that's the fourth reason. So I'd just like to propose that when it comes to this time, and I'm happy to speak to it when it comes up and answer any questions you have at that time, but just wanted to share here tonight the ask that you table it until November 5th. Last is my third topic is we are actively preparing for Election Day. All schools will be open on Election Day. And there are actions that we are actively taking as central office and school staff to make sure we're prepared for Election Day. On October 7th, our principal meeting was dedicated to making sure that we're ready for this day. We included 3 topics that we looked at, including communication, safety, and making sure that our students and staff had support, including social emotional support. We have a meeting scheduled with Portland Police Department on October 16th to go over safety protocols and to review any additional staff that will be available. The 3 schools, East End, Reike, and Deering, these are the 3 schools that serve as polling places. We'll all work to make sure that there are firm separation between the polling places and their schools. That will mean that doors will be shut, doors will be secure, so that there are not individuals that are there for voting able to go through the school building, et cetera. And so for individuals who may be visiting the school that day, for example, to pick up your child early, you may expect it to take a little bit longer. You may expect more traffic outside. It'll be a busy day at the school, but we are working to make sure that it is secure and safe between the polling area and the school. And then last is materials have been provided to the schools, and this includes support and materials for social workers on safety, including helping students who may have complex immigration status, transgender students, and others who've expressed concerns that they may be targeted depending on election results, so that we can make sure that as a whole community, we're supporting all of our students as they process whatever the election outcomes are. As we know that there will be, no matter how the election turns out, there will be students that are happy and there will be students that are sad. And as a community, we are going to support our students. And so we want to make sure that everybody feels supported in that. And so we've provided materials or in the process of providing additional materials where needed to do that. Last, we have some surprise visitors here because it is the secondaries night to present on their schools, but it is also October is National Principal Month, and we have the best. And so just excited to recognize our principals, including the handful of principals and directors that are here with us tonight. And so even if we don't have them all here, if we can just give them a round of applause, just a huge thank you. And so that concludes my comments, but Chair, if it's all right with you, I would like to welcome up our Executive Director of HR, Jennifer Slaybank, who's going to go out of order here tonight to just quickly welcome and introduce a couple of new leaders to our district.
Thank you. Well, I know I shared at our last board meeting that we had a couple of new people on our staff, and so I wanted to be able to introduce them to you this evening. I'm going to start with Jen Montague, who is our new Director for Food Services. And I'll have her come up. Jen is honored and excited to join the PPS food service team. Her qualifications include a master's degree in nutrition, 4 years of experience as a school food service director at a district similar in size to Portland, 1 year writing nutrition education materials for the USDA child nutrition programs in DC, 5 years teaching nutrition and food service management at Flathead Community College, and the last 4 years providing direct nutrition education to support pediatric patients with obesity at Maine Health. She has experience working collaboratively with community stakeholders to secure grants and build new systems, including cooperative purchasing with local farmers and ranchers. And she's looking forward to working with the fishing industry here in Maine. She worked with other districts to develop recipes and process products like a lentil beef crumble that makes sense for school food. The systems and partnerships she built in her previous roles continue to be utilized by districts across western Montana. After several years working in a slightly different capacity here in Portland, Jen is eager to resume working within a school district. She knows a good food service program will contribute to improved learning, belonging, and engagement for our students. She was inspired by her interviews with the Portland Public Schools Hiring Committee and believes the district and the greater Portland community are supportive and eager to move forward with the types of goals she shares. These goals include improved food quality through more scratch cooking, more nutritious foods in accordance with improved USDA guidelines around added sugar, more local purchasing, and most importantly, a more diverse menu that reflects the tastes and needs of the students Portland serves. Jen also has, this is probably the most important part of your bio, Jen also has 2 children in the district, Bergen in 5th grade and Luca in 9th grade. Please welcome Jen Montague.
Thanks, everybody. I'm really excited to be here. This is my first day actually today, so principals can expect an email tomorrow. And yeah, I'm excited to get to know you all and be a part of this community.
Vice Chair Bondo, go ahead. Jen, do you want to?
Oh, questions?
Yeah, I think
Question
that
on the first day.
we'll keep them easy. Vice Chair Bondo, go ahead.
Yes.
I just don't have any comment, but I just need to make a comment. I was today at King Miller School, and 7th grader students, the only question they had, all of them, is about their lunch. So I'm so glad the new start. So I'm just ready, let you know, then you're going to be busy. And I'm just hoping then we can see a change happening and through all the menus. So
Yeah.
welcome to the on board and good luck to you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm excited to get kids involved in these changes as well. So,
Thank you, Jen.
thank you.
And then our other guest this evening is Heather Peters. I'll have Heather come on up. I actually knew Heather. I mean, I'm so new to Maine, but I actually knew Heather before I worked in Portland Public Schools. So imagine my surprise when she showed up here. Heather Peters joined Portland Public Schools at the beginning of October last week as the accounting manager supporting the executive director of finance and her team. She comes to us after spending 5 years as the finance director of the IRIS Network, which is a nonprofit serving people with vision impairments across the state of Maine. In that role, she worked closely with the board of directors to bring the organization back to financial health, overseeing a budget of $3.3 million and navigating the uncertainties of the pandemic. Prior to the IRIS Network, Heather was the endowment operations officer at Bowdoin College for 9 years. Heather graduated from Dartmouth College with a BA in Russian language and literature and studied for 6 months in St. Petersburg. A strong supporter of the public education system, she and her spouse raised 4 children who came up through the Greeley School system, and she is the proud aunt of 2 Deering High School graduates. Heather lives with her spouse, Kelly, a speech-language pathologist in the Deering Highlands area, with 3 cats who all wish they were only children. Heather's interests include traveling, beachcombing, and watching professional soccer. She's also, I know her as someone who was a very quick study at a game called Euchre, which is a Midwestern game, and I don't remember if you won or not. If you did win, I prefer to forget it.
Thanks. As Jennifer mentioned, I only started last week. This is my 6th day. I'm enjoying it very much. Helene is wonderful. I think we're going to click well. I think I'll be able to support her in some of the challenges the school system has faced over the past year or years. And Suleiman Herod is an awesome staff member. He'll be reporting to me, and the grant accountant Clarice will be reporting to me as well. So I look forward to learning more about you and everything Portland school system.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. And I really appreciate the bios that you're bringing to us. I think it gives us a really great four-dimensional view of our new staff. So just thank you for doing that. And I just wanted to make opportunity for any board members to ask questions of your presentation. Did you want to add something first?
No, that sounds great.
Okay, beautiful. Any board members have questions about the superintendent's presentation tonight? Let me just double check. Okay. All right, then. We are going to move on to our secondary schools update.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Abdullahi Ahmed, and I'm the Assistant Superintendent of Secondary Schools, presenting to you our first secondary schools update. In this report, we will go over to introduce the secondary team, recent highlights about what is going on in our schools, and also how we are engaging our strategic plan. And at the end, there will be a time for questions. I will start with introductions. This is the network team, and Ms. Allison Dame, who is Director of Academics, Mr. Don Bishop, Director of ESOL, Ms. Pamela Otuno-Thompson, Director of Secondary Innovation and Outcomes, and Dr. Chris Rigers, Director of Climate and Culture. We are still in the process of searching for Secondary Director of Special Education. Schools and the school leaders, as studies show, are most effective lever to improve the quality of schools. And the principals and APs make a difference in our schools. And they need the support, the time, and the resources to make this difference. Our job from the central office team and the network team is to support our principals and school leaders to do this job. As you see in the picture, in the left is Ms. Noor, Assistant Principal of Deering High School, with making connections with the students. Mr. Stilfen, the Director for Portland Arts and Technology High School, in the middle of the day, where there is a transition, doing this preventative management, where he's at the parking when there is really high traffic at that time. So this is very supportive intervention and strategy to really make sure that our students are safe and getting into the parking in and out safely. Ms. Jones of Lyman Moore is in the middle of the road and supporting students to cross and get into the buses and into their bikes and be safe. And next, I'm not going over the names, but I will give you the time to. These are our school leaders in the next 3 slides. And as we talk about the highlights of our schools, the good things that is going on in our schools. As humans, often when we are presented with a gift, we get excited about the gift and less about the presenter. But we need to also pay attention to the presenters. All the highlights and the good things which are going on in our schools are the leaders who are making it happen. So we are grateful and appreciative to all you're doing and all they're doing for our students, families, and the community at large. So next, we will present some of the highlights in our schools. And as I said, with me tonight are several school leaders who will take part in this presentation. And I will start with Ms. Jones of Lyman Moore to be the first person to present.
Good evening. My name is Darylyn Jones. I am the principal at Lyman Moore Middle School. Our teachers have been working very hard to create a sense of belonging for our students. So they have received the grant from Stephen and Tabitha King Foundation. The teachers are working really hard. They collaborated. They created learning and experiences for our students, and whatever their needs were as far as in the library and books, to have a sense of belonging. A huge shout out to 3 of our educators. Meredith Doyle is a teacher, Court Kaywood is our librarian, and James Ford is our community partner, was our community partner. So they were awarded a $25,000 grant from the Stephen and Tabitha King Foundation to create 3 sections of lower level, high interest books in middle schools, all 3 of our middle schools. This will make a world of difference for our ESO newcomers, allowing them to browse for books just like all other students. Their dedication to fostering diversity and inclusion is truly amazing, and we are so appreciative of this grant. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Priya Natarajan. I'm the principal here at Casco Bay High School. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit today about team building and how the team building that we did really facilitated a strong and positive opening to our school year. So on this slide, you can see both many schools, actually. The pictures are actually from Moore and Deering, but I'm going to speak a little bit about King and Casco as well. So we have a strong history in our district of partnering with local nonprofits, including Sail Maine, Ripple Effect, Hurricane Island, and many other groups to take our students and give them the opportunity to build community and test themselves and challenge themselves in a variety of ways. At King, the grade 6 teams actually went to Bradbury Mountain or Sail Maine. The 7th graders went to Cow Island with Ripple Effect. And the 8th graders actually did the ROCC high ropes course at Ripple Effect, all of them, and I think they had a great time. At both King and Casco, we've had a lot of interdisciplinary expeditions kick off in the last month. At Casco, we've also taken our 9th and 12th graders to Quest, which is a multi-day community building experience where the students get to, again, really challenge themselves in the outdoors and make friends and build community. We also took our 10th and 11th graders for community building days for hikes and field days at Fort Williams and at Pleasant Mountain and Agamenticus. And King also is in the Math for Me initiative, which is a group of schools that are working together to really build a more positive classroom community in math so that kids can feel comfortable learning and access what teachers are providing. And our final point today is about school meeting. So at almost every school, we have a moment during the day or during the week when the school or grade levels can gather together and build community. And we at Casco do this through our weekly school meeting, which is held in this great space, all of our students together, really celebrating what's good and positive about our community and about our students. Okay, next slide, please. And here we presented just a few more pictures of the different ways that we really try to engage students' sense of fun. We feel very strongly that students should be having fun in school, not just, doing traditional learning, but that this kind of community building and, letting go of that energy really helps them to learn in a variety of ways. So we have pictures from a variety of schools here. Middle schools and high schools that have just been taken in the last week from a variety of schools that just show what we really want to see, which is that the students are really enjoying going to school, making friends, and being there. All right, next slide. All right, specifically at Casco, so I wanted to show you a little bit as well about Quest and some of the experiences that our students have been able to have. On the upper left, you will see a crew, an advisory group that is gathered together. These are seniors at Hurricane Island. They're gathered together. They've been together for 4 years, and they get to have these moments of reflection and community building as they start out their senior year. The bottom picture is actually my crew out on a lobster boat in Penobscot Bay a few weeks ago, and we got to do a variety of things that I also had never done, including measuring a lobster, holding a lobster, all kinds of things. And I think you'll see across all the schools that we really try to build relationships with students by putting ourselves also in that place where we are learning. We are learners. We are trying to figure out how to overcome our own worries or questions and try new experiences as well. And through that experience with the students, we're modeling how to be a learner, which is really the ultimate skill. And then on our right side, we have our 9th grade quest, building community, literally building a pyramid. And, one of our final days on Quest was the one rainy day in September where it was pouring. But they wore our Foundation for Portland Public Schools ponchos. And they trudged through it, and they built community through some pretty tough rain. And I think they'll remember that for the rest of their lives. So I think that's all. I'll turn it over to Ms. Jeffs.
Good evening. I'm Sheila Jepson, the principal at Portland High School. And our focus this year has been on attendance, belonging, and community. And I know many of our other high schools and our middle schools are also focusing in these areas. But at Portland High specifically, we've looked at our advisory, and we have an advanced advisory where students have access to academic support and intervention. And our culture coordinators are focusing on building community and a sense of belonging. We're regularly recognizing students for their attendance and school citizenship. And we're using regular data protocols, as I know other schools are, with attendance records in our student support team meetings, so we can identify students in need of support. You can show the next slide, please. And just to share a little bit of data that we're collecting, this is Portland High specific. We're pretty proud of the work that we're doing around attendance and having students be in school. And you can see from that data that we're pretty strong in grades 9 and 10, and definitely improving in grades 11 and 12, but that's overall for the month of September. We have a slogan that we started on day 1 in August with our staff, which is Bulldogs Show Up. And so we use that slogan in a lot of ways. They show up for school, they show up and be kind to each other, they show up in the cafeteria. And we're also recognizing students for the work that they're doing. So last week, we had 74 freshmen who were recognized for perfect attendance. That's pretty amazing. And we did have some changes to our schedule, which we feel made some difference in increased attendance. So we're looking forward to that and tracking that data as we go.
Hi, Jake Eastman, Deering High School. I want to highlight really quickly a few things. We say at Portland Public Schools that we want to graduate students who are prepared and empowered to operate in the real world. So here's a couple examples of civic engagement from high school students. The city clerk reached out and tapped into already existing apparatus where high school students run voter registration drives every year. Which is pretty cool and nonpartisan. Volunteers of America and Jobs for Maine graduates worked recently with a group of Deering High students to present a 40-page paper to the city solving the affordable housing crisis. So check it out if you're looking for answers. Next slide, please. Also, a recap and an invitation to you. On October 9th, the Maine Supreme Court held oral arguments at Deering High School. Some of you were there. It was really fascinating. We got to have kids rotate through to see a lot of arguments. We had guests from other schools as well. And on October 25th, amazingly, the ambassador to the United States from France is coming with two African ambassadors that we're not allowed to know their nationalities yet, to speak with Deering students and associated guests about the needs and promise of French-speaking students in our schools. I think I sent an email invitation to all of you today. Let me know if you want to come or if you think you know other people who should be there. Shout out to our French teacher, Alexis Canamouliere, whose work with native-speaking French students is what attracted the attention in the first place. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Kevin Stolfman, Director at Portland Arts and Technology High School. This is a snapshot of some of the achievement from last year's class, but I think I want to really focus in on the first one, is the growth in the Portland students that attend PAFS. 38% of the 435 students at PAFS come from either Casco Bay, Deering, or Portland, which is growth. And it really is a testament to my fellow administrators, their school counselors, and their teachers. I don't know if you know, but PAFS draws students from 13 different high schools. So we are seeing tremendous growth there. We're going to continue to focus on the concurrent enrollment, college credits, aligning all of our programs with concurrent enrollment agreements at community colleges. So we're continuing to build that out, but this is really just a reflection. The growth with the Portland students, has been one of our focuses, and we will hope to grow that 38% to 40% and on and on. So we've had a really successful year last year, and we're focusing on more growth with our sister schools in Portland. So, is there another slide? Oh yeah. So just some quick pictures. Upper right-hand corner, students in carpentry are laying out the foundation for a modular home that we will build, that is built over the course of 2 years. Lower right-hand corner is Ryan's car that he was supposed to get when he got, no, it's a classic Mustang. We had a car show for Skills USA. That's our CTSO. We had that 3 weeks ago, an amazing turnout. We're able to raise about $3,000 for our Skills USA chapter. And just what students do on a day-to-day basis at PAFS is they work with their hands. They take the information, they're front-loaded in classrooms or on the shop floors and applying what they learn. The lower left is actually Lincoln students who visit this past spring to do a step-up day at PAFS. We had the Lincoln 8th graders, and they were amazing. And then the upper left is our three of our students came in and performed music at the kickoff to the Portland Public School year at Merrill. So things are going well at PAFS, and we have great colleagues to work with and wonderful students. So thank you.
All right, so to finish off, we just want to point out that all three of our high schools have students enrolled in early college at SMCC, USM, the Spring Ahead program, EMCC as well as AP courses to provide the right level of challenge for each student. We have a huge number this year. And all three high schools, we are excited to have extracurriculars that offer that appeal to a wide range of students and develop skills, from math team to athletics to visual and performing arts, different affinity groups. And in fact, all three math teams competed at last week's math meet, which was hosted by Deering High School. And we're excited for another great year ahead. Thank you.
And now I will welcome the Executive Director of our biggest high school in the district, Dr. Abby Omoto.
Hi. So I just picked 3 things to talk about in terms of our highlight. The first thing is about the grant that we just recently received from the Governor's Office of Energy, also known as the Governor's Energy Office. It seems like they can't decide what to call themselves. But we received a $417,000 approximately grant from them to use over the next year and a half. I highlight this because this coming year, 43% of our annual budget is coming from grants and foundations and other forms of donations that we hunt for and apply for annually. And so some of them are larger than others, and this is one of our larger grants that we received that we'll be using over the next year and a half. And it will result in a couple of new hires of teachers in the area, which is clean energy careers in the workforce department, and also some newer English classes that are focused on specific sectors, or the sector in this case would be clean energy. And one of the things that we're trying out is having English classes that are more focused on specific sectors earlier on so that people can start exploring specific vocabulary and jargon within their areas of interest until having to wait for complete fluency before. So this grant will help in also adding some more sector-focused English classes as well. The second point is pre-apprenticeship programs that we have that address the workforce shortage across at Portland Public Schools. Of course, Education Academy is a long-standing program that we've had that originally focused on internationally trained educators or people who had educator-like training and teaching experience, but this is, we're expanding a little bit in partnership with Portland Public Schools, of course, that we're a part of, but specifically the staff advancement and staff advancement part of things in terms of having an apprenticeship tied to Portland Public Schools. And the people who go through this pre-apprenticeship don't have to go through Portland Public Schools, but that is a big part of it. And some of them will be employees of Portland Public School who are looking to advance into getting teacher certificates, and will be providing pre-apprenticeship program of that. And so that's one thing. And we also have I call it bus driver prep program because the name of the program has changed slightly, but it's really to help people prepare for becoming are having careers on the transportation services. And this is also the large parts that people get hired into is Portland Public Schools and Metro. So those are our largest partners. And then we also have pre-apprenticeship programs and the healthcare fields, which partner with Maine Health, Northern Light. Those are our longest standing partners. And we're also expanding into Martins Point and other healthcare providers as well. And then finally, I just wanted to have everyone remember that we do high school completion, both in high school diploma and HiSET. So high school diploma is seat hours based. So people come and take classes in our building, and you have to take certain numbers of classes and acquire certain credits. So that's really just going to high school. And we have that program. And we also have HiSET, which is achievement based. So it's the high school equivalency test, which is also known as GED. And so for people who feel ready that they can pass the test today or after studying for themselves, just depending on how people want to complete their high school programs, they're able to do it that way as well. So far this year, we've completed 50 HiSET tests, so people are well on their way being able to achieve their goals of concluding high school in their own ways right now. And of course, that leads to post-secondary pathways too. So those are the 3 highlights from adult education for this evening. Thank you.
So as Dr. Scala said, we will have time to, or there will be times that we will talk about the key initiatives of our strategic plan. But we wanted also to just highlight or share with you how we are engaging the work. So I will ask Principal Ayala from Lincoln Middle School to just give us an example of how we are scaling up or engaging the work of the strategic plan.
Good evening. I'm Marisa Ayala, principal at Lincoln. Some of you know me. So glad to be here. It's interesting as a school leader, you're going 150% every day you're at school. And I got a chance to finally reflect. And I just want to thank my colleagues for all the work that we're doing to uplift our kids and just uplift our community. So thank you so much. I'm so proud to be your colleague. As part of our strategic plan 2.0, and the focuses of FOCI 2.2 and 3.1, none of this work happens on a whim. This work really happens when we're looking at data and we're making informed decisions. So we are asking our educators to do that in schools, and we're also practicing, we're doing the same practice. So in those pictures, you can see a few of our colleagues and actually administrators, myself and Blake, engaging in this process of looking at data and making decisions that we took and we made actions on the very next day. So you can go to the next slide. And this is just an example of some of the data that we look at as school leaders. So we've been doing network walks where the network and the school team gets together and they visit classrooms and they gather data on how we are implementing our EL curriculum. And so this is some data from Lincoln that we gathered. Thank you.
Now I welcome Assistant Principal Noor to just present the last couple of slides.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Halima Noor, and I'm the assistant principal of Deering High School. If you can go to the next slide. So what's really important is to promote post-secondary education paths and increase the usage of Maine's early college tuition waivers. As you know, there is an opportunity for all high school students to access Maine early college tuition free. So it's taking classes at USM, SMCC, and it is free. However, opportunity is one thing and access is another. This is another opportunity for our students. It's a collaboration with USM, and it will allow students to have access to this opportunity. It is called the Portland Scholars. So collaborating and establishing the Portland Scholars, it's a program to broaden Portland Public School students' educational exposure and enhance their success. We're hoping for a direct admission pipeline. I don't know if many of you guys know, but I am a product of Portland Public Schools. I went to Lyman, I went to Deering, and then for college, I stayed very local. I went to USM, and the only reason I was able to do that, I had Dr. Ahmed as a teacher, and he talked to me about the importance of staying in your community and supporting your community. And for a lot of young people, they're thinking about college. It is expensive. It is hard to pay for. If they know they have a direct admission to a university that is right here in their city, they're more likely to then believe in themselves and say, I am in this one school, let me aim higher, or let me think of other places to go. But I have something in my back pocket that my family will support and be happy with. It is important that we promote early college programs so that we encourage our Portland Public School students to utilize the USM Early College offerings and giving the statewide provided tuitions. Here at Deering High School, we actually have a similar program called Spring Ahead. By the spring semester of students' senior year, we try to push them to go to SMCC and take 4 classes over there. I'm going to be really honest with you guys. Every student that's attended SMCC Spring Ahead program has decided to either attend a UMO, USM, University of Maine system, or continue their education at SMCC, and those collaborations and connections with professors, they come back telling us how it was vital and important for them. We started with 13 students in 2019, and we have over 50, and we're hoping to grow that in the next few years. You can continue. So what we're hoping is we have participation starting in the 9th grade for our students, that they complete their high school requirements in English, math, science, and social studies. They achieve a minimum GPA of 2.5 and earn a C or better. If you go to Deering, Ms. Noor likes to see B's or better. So although it says C's here, B's are better. That's the Deering difference, please. And that those who are doing their early college participation, the requirements are they submit an application via Explore EC with necessary approvals. They adhere to the USM registration, student conduct, and academic requirements, earn a D or higher in USM courses. Again, please, B's are better. Don't aim low, aim high. It's our expectation, but this is very vital and important for our students. Every time I speak to college professionals in the state of Maine, they always say, where do our young people go? Why don't we have any young folks to hire? Well, we've got to give them these types of opportunities. They're more likely to stay in the state if they go to a school that's here. So let's push for this. Thank you.
And that concludes our report. So if you have questions now, we will take questions.
Beautiful. Do any board members have questions on that awesome presentation? Vice Chair Bondo, go ahead.
Thank you, the principal and APs, for your presentation. Thank you so much. I have two questions. The first one, I just want to talk about attendance and the chronic absenteeism. We just have a couple of weeks ago meeting, so we have some data reporting, and we have a high level on the chronic absenteeism among Hispanic students, about 45.5 up. So I just wonder, in any of you can just have any strategy that you've been see if you have noticed that, and if you have, after noticing, if you have created any kind of strategy to try to find some solution about it. So anyone can speak about it. I just need to have any sense of any schools has done something.
Thank you very much for asking this question. Actually, Ms. Jepson and I and her team, leadership team today, we were talking about how not only having a goal to reduce chronic absenteeism, but also how you will look into the data and dissect and see where these are the most having specific strategies for specific groups. So Ms. Jepson can speak to this, but we talked about this today, and the Portland High School team are really working hard, finding out some solutions for that, and she can talk about some interventions that they're doing.
Thank you.
So one of the things we started with was just really making sure our data was pretty clean. Okay. I think there are a number of students that we did home visits on to see if people were there. We contacted, we met with our multilingual parent community specialists who speak Spanish. And we met with them as a team and talked about the number of students that we're worried about, that we're concerned about, we haven't seen. And so they were able to give us some information about them. And we were able to do home visits, and then really talk to students about like, what's going to work for you? Because we know some of our students might have other things that are going on outside of school. So then we would strategize to provide a schedule for them that would work. You know, for us, it's 4 blocks a day, but for some students, it might be that they only need, they could do 2 blocks a day. We'll take 2 blocks, and then we'll plan a schedule and a program around what will work for them. So we've seen some of an impact there. And I think mostly it's been just reaching out and making sure that they know that we know and that we want to make a connection with them.
All right. So, I mean, the model that you're using can be across all the different schools as well?
Absolutely. I mean, across schools, and I think across languages too, because I think we see it varies across all of those demographics.
Okay. So I will keep checking on that to make sure that.
Right. Yes, please do.
Thank you. So my second question is about I just get the data instructions. So I just wonder, because we have the district-wide assessment report I think last month, and I look at the reading and mathematics. The achievement gap is still wider between disadvantaged students and economic advantage students. So I just wonder. I know we have a 5-year strategy plan. I just don't want to go there because we still having students ongoing basis in our classroom. So I wonder if any strategy internally, each of the different leaders in the school, they have be able to develop so we can move forward.
Yeah, thank you. But this is also another, but what I asked or what we presented, which was like really engaging the data and not waiting for the end of the school year, but engaging the data and having these walkthroughs, being in the classrooms, looking at the assessments, and having looking into the implications of this data and making decisions. So we started now working with today, actually 2 of the leaders here. I had meetings with their leadership teams about our process of step back and looking into the data, what we have, from the walkthrough data to chronic absenteeism to suspensions, and really looking and having action plans and saying like, what are we going to do next differently so that we can make a difference in this. So that was the directive of our strategic plan and Dr. Scallon's leadership to really move forward with monitoring progress, periodically, not waiting for the end of the school year. So we are engaging data, and we're looking into our practices as well as the outcomes of our assessments.
With all due respect, Dr. Ahmed, I'm just not really satisfied for what I see because the achievement gap has been there for years. It's nothing new. So that means what we're building down is some of the strategy that we want to move forward. So I just want to hear from our principal if they have in their own building create some of a different approach instead to be like a team effort, but something they have seen, something they try, and they see some of the results. Who can move some of the reading and mathematics forward?
The principal's result in the building.
Yes.
That some interventions they're doing.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, in middle school, we've been aware that there's been a really big gap. Between reading and math, you can look back at the data, 30% of our kids are at the achievement level or not. About 70% of our kids are at achievement level or not. So what I said earlier was like legitimate. We're really working with data. We're looking at data together, not just as leaders, but with our teachers too. So for example, recently at Lincoln, we had a PD where all our teachers were looking at student data for the Maine 3-year assessment. We were looking at math and reading data because we have a block in our day that is called WIN. And during that time and block of the day, we have interventions with our students. So we have small groups of kids that may need we're noticing that their data is between the first and 20th percentile in Maine through year. We pull that small group and we use programs like iExcel or other tailored lessons to help them progress in their particular math skills. Same with reading. We use a program called Lexia. Lexia also develops lessons that are tailored to students depending on the skill that they need to develop. But lastly, we know that as long as we follow the curriculum that we decide on with fidelity and we have tier 1 supports, that will also help out with our instruction. But that's just one example, and I know that my colleagues in the other middle schools are also engaging in the same process as I am.
Yeah, thank you so much. This is the kind of sample that I was looking for, like internal intervention. So yeah, thank you.
I can also add something. I think one of the most important things, and I know principals and school leaders do this a lot, is changing the culture around the conversations we're having with young people. At Deering, we do something called Learning Together. And the reason we did that is we recognize when young people are struggling with reading math, they'd rather act out in class than get the support that they need. I'd rather be labeled as a bad student than a student who can't read or who can't do math. So what we've been really trying to highlight at Deering, and Anya knows this, is I go around and I'm recording students, I'm recording them learning in class, I'm recording them helping each other, I'm recording teachers doing it actively together to remind students that we are here for you and we want to support you. We've also at Deering been beefing up peer tutoring. Students are more likely to learn from each other than they are from an adult, particularly in high school. If you're a 9th grader and you have a 12th grader mentor who's telling you, I've taken this class, I've struggled, and here's how I've overcome it, and here's the support that I used, they're more likely then to seek out those supports. And I know my colleagues at the other schools and other principals, it's really about moving that culture piece. In America, we tend to shy away from difficult conversations, and we're trying to change that and being honest with kids of, you're not reading, you're not doing math. What are we doing wrong to get you in this spot? First of all, you came to us as a 9th grader struggling to read and write. Something has gone wrong in the entire system. Now that you are here, let's have this conversation because you are not the only person. It can be hard when you feel like you're the only student in a classroom that's not understanding. So at Deering, we've really been trying to move the culture piece of that. So teachers and students are having those conversations and then building out peer structures and tutoring time for students to be able to engage in supports that they need. And then continuing with our curriculum development, working with our teachers so that they can see those gaps in young people.
All right. Thank you so much. And I'm just hoping then, there's a team effort coming and those different samples of intervention can be spread around different schools so we can use the best approach. Then we can. Thank you so much. Thank you, Chair.
Vice Chair. I'm going to jump in with a question because it kind of builds off of that. But first, just like I have gotten goosebumps several times just listening to you. I'm feeling super inspired and just thankful for all of the work that you do. So just really appreciate the way that you're showing up for our district. And my question was, with increased walkthroughs, I'm just curious how, like, does it feel like you're able to work with teachers at this point? Does it feel like you're coming in, like, are you sharing power with teachers? Does it feel like power over? Like, how is the culture around increased walkthrough and, accountability towards implementation? I'm curious what that's feeling like for you and for teachers.
So there are walkthroughs that the leaders and the mainly with me and also the network team members they're doing with, which is mainly often happens weekly. And there are also, walkthroughs like beginning of the year walkthroughs that will be scheduled and happening. Also, principals like today I was at Lyman Moore just visiting, and Ms. Jones was doing her walkthroughs go into the classroom. So it's more observations and more giving teachers feedback. This is and also not only looking for what we can improve, but also what we can build on, and looking at what the pockets of excellence is like us sharing, as Ms. Bonda said, sharing the good things going on in one school and using it in another place. So it is very much like, two teachers who are side by side may need to learn from each other. So you are the person who say like, this person is doing a great job. Can you visit his classroom or her classroom? So it is happening. And you want to speak to?
I'll just add that we started doing the walkthroughs on a smaller, shorter basis, I guess, last year. So I think our teachers feel fairly comfortable. And I would say even before we called them walkthroughs, they were fine, like, come on in, come anytime. So they're really comfortable with that. I think we're learning about what the look-fors are, and we're kind of fine-tuning what those are so that our staff know what we're looking for. And then really, once we have identified those look-fors, which we have, then sharing that. So when we go into classrooms, I think the team that came through a couple weeks ago at Portland, we saw 17 classrooms, and people were like, wow, there's some really cool things that are going on. And I was very proud of our teachers and our students, because part of going in to observe a classroom is not to just observe what the teacher is doing, but what are our students doing. And I think that is maybe a little bit of the shift. It's like, yeah, students are doing some really good work, and our teachers are doing some amazing work as well. So it works both ways.
Thank you. Other questions from the board? Oh, yes. I saw Student Representative McDonald's hand first. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. First of all, I just want to do a disclaimer. Seniors wore pink today, so that's why I'm in an all pink outfit. But I do, and we can dive into this more later, but I do have a question about Portland's new schedule. And it is, personally actually really appreciate it. I have found myself to be much more productive during the wind block, having it in the middle of the day as opposed to at the end of the day. So I do appreciate that. My one concern has been the lost academic time for athletes who have had to leave at the end of the day. So I was wondering if you guys are recording, measuring that at all, and if you have, any thoughts on how to help with that, or, if it's a big issue or not.
Yeah, we are looking at that, because we know that our students have to leave sometimes at 2:00, sometimes at 1:45, when school gets out at 2:50, to get a bus to go to a game in North Berwick or Wyndham. And so that has been an impact. We're tracking that time, and we're also we do eligibility checks for our athletes in the middle of the quarter and then at the end of the quarter. So we're tracking the failure rate. And then we have the win time in the middle of the day so that students can intervene. I have a coach who has to leave, and he schedules his classes for for win time when he has to leave because he'll miss them. So we're figuring that out. It is an unintended consequence of us changing the schedule to make our day run a little bit smoother. I'm glad to hear that you are appreciating, that change in the time. I know it was a big change for students and for us as teachers and administrators, but we have seen the difference that it makes for our students. But yes, we're tracking it. We'll track it quarterly to see what the impact is.
Okay, great. Yeah, I just want to emphasize the importance of that because my AP biology class is block 4 and a bunch of people it's every day and a bunch of people have missed so much time from that, and it's difficult when that happens.
Yeah.
All the other classes.
I think the other thing we can do is the reality is we plan our schedule in April and May for the next year, and we didn't change our schedule until August. Yeah. And so we can look at that too and say, well, we probably want to make sure that we put certain courses certain places so that the impact is not as great.
Yeah, totally. All right. I'm happy to hear that it's going to be thought about going forward. So thank you.
Thank you. And Student Representative Hayden.
Thank you, Chair. And thank you again. I'll reiterate it's really nice to see a unified sort of presentation from all the schools. I know it's happening at Deering, and I know for my friends it's happening at Portland, but I like seeing it all together and understanding sort of where everything's trickling down from. Anyways, I just wanted to mention that I found the visit from the Maine Supreme Court incredibly enriching, both just as a girl who's always found legislative and judicial process really interesting, and as someone who's interested in that possibly as a future career. I found that particular aspect of it to be a really valuable opportunity for me and for my peers. I'm just wondering if there's any effort to sort of expand such opportunities district-wide, because I feel like it is a pretty once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to get to witness this kind of thing for many students, and we could afford to make a bigger deal out of it. Of course, this isn't going to happen again in the near future, but I'm wondering if there's any effort to make it more known, to publicize such a thing more, and open it to more students throughout the district.
Great question. We did invite a number of schools to that event, and invited more schools to the ambassadorial event. So trying to recruit that more.
All right. Any other questions on the board? Yes, go ahead. Board Member Ali.
I think my question is for Dr. Abby. So is there other apprenticeship opportunities for people that have skills that they came from their respective places? Or is it just limited to what is available right now?
So the pre-apprenticeship programs that we have right now are in response to a different grant from the Department of Labor that has this large pre-apprenticeship program. And so we have selected some of the programs that we've already had, some of them are actually new, but most of them are programs that we already had that were easily refashionable into pre-apprenticeship programs that then are linked to state registered apprenticeship programs through this larger grant that's going around. So there are several pre-apprenticeship and apprenticeship programs around the state. And the ones that we're doing are just the ones that we have. And just because of our student population, our programs do tend to be geared towards people who already have experience in the area that we're doing the pre-apprenticeships in. And so in that sense, it's a little bit different than a lot of the other pre-apprenticeship and apprenticeship programs because they're all fashioned to really respond to whatever the local situation is. And so the ones that I presented, which is like healthcare field, and we actually have 3 different programs on that. There's the medical assistant, pre-apprenticeship, blanking out a little bit. The healthcare office, and then I'm definitely forgetting something else. Sorry, but we have like several in the healthcare field. And then the clean energy one is like that's really kind of the largest one right now in terms of like what we're doing. So there's like solar and then solar panel and then heat pump operations. And then there's the Education Academy. And we have, so that's all we have right now in our program. And it's largely a capacity issue. And when I say capacity, it's like, it's human resources, financial resources, and physical space. Those are the things that we're always challenged by. And financial resources in some way are the most flexible in that, you know, it's just money. So like you get it or you don't get it. It brings in the other questions about sustainability of like a position. So it's really tricky to get money just for like a year or two, because then it's like you hire someone for that position and then what do you do after that, right? Like you can't just be like, sorry, the grant is over, which we're sometimes forced to do, but that's not really what we aim to do. And also like programs kind of grow over the year. And so the longer we can sustain a position and allow someone to like really grow the program and for the school to adjust to a different kind of program to exist, the better it is in terms of the depth of the program, and that means outcome. Like we just have better outcomes when we're able to hire someone to stay in a position longer to actually offer a longer program. So sorry, that like got into a much wider discussion, but right now that's what we have. And the challenges that we face and the reason why they're focused on that is because they're the programs that we've already had.
Thank you. One more, thank you. I just have a quick question for Ms. Jepson. So I know that Portland does not have the advantage of a nice space to have all the students except for the auditorium maybe, but how is Portland High changing the school culture and building more community and not just, you know, how do I want to say, just like hi, but like actively building like community through activities as I saw that's happening in other schools?
Do you have a specific?
Like how is Portland building community, or what are the challenges in getting everyone to a location to build like community among students?
Yeah, I mean, we're trying to have monthly class meetings where we bring students together as a class. You know, we have a BSU and so Black Student Union and Asian Student Union. We have a Latino group. We have, I think, a fledgling French group that's meeting. So we try to really have students to try and understand their heritage to come together and be part of groups and communities. You know, we're doing things in that way, but we have large gathering spaces where students are able to do that in a grander space, and then students do that in a smaller group. I'm not sure if that answers your question.
Yes, okay. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Board Member Victor? Thank you, Chair. I also have a question for Ms. Jepson. Just to follow up on Charlotte's question about the changes to the schedule, I'm wondering, I know other districts in the region have done more work to respond to the medical literature around start times and the need for adolescents to get more sleep. And so I'm wondering if rather than just changing when you're offering classes, so for instance, an AP biology class might not be at the end of the day, we can work regionally with the teams that Portland plays against to move back the start times of different events so that kids are actually able to fully engage in their academic work.
Yeah, I mean, that's a possibility. Certainly, I think most of the start times are 4:00. So depending on how long it takes to get there. So for some places, it takes an hour to get there. So they need to leave at 3, which means they need to get out at 2:30 to prep to get on the bus. So we've kind of worked backwards around some of those things. Partly it's sometimes it can be a transportation issue, but mostly it's that the games start at 4. Many of the other teams that we play get out of school much earlier than we do, from 1:50 to the regular end time to 2:10 to 2:20, I think is the latest. So we are the school that gets out the latest. So we have to work within that with the other schools in our league. But it has crossed my mind to say, can we have a 4:30 start, which would at least back it up another 30 minutes?
Yeah, that I encourage us to try and do that, because moving the timing of a given class doesn't seem like a solution from my standpoint. Like, all kids who are athletes should be able to attend all of their classes without having to miss critical time in the classroom, and also on the sports fields. So I hope we can think about making moves like that that will enable our students both to attend their classes and to play sports.
Question, Board Member Opperman? Is that a question?
Well, a question statement. I think the issue with timing these schedules is not even in their hands. It's the Maine Principal Association, which is a general name for a group of people who worry about athletics. And they schedule the athletics before they schedule anything else. And so I just wanted to say that. But I did want to also say, you do good work. I'm happy you're in the classroom, having been the person who had not never, but almost never had anyone in the classroom, didn't know who to go for help. You had to find somebody. So making yourself available. I think you're still intimidating people. I know you are, and you know you are, because it's hard to have somebody watch you do what you're doing. But I appreciate you doing that, and keep it up, and as strongly as you can, because that's the community that will support the teachers as they want. And you need something, let us know. If the teachers need something, I know budget, but if the teachers need something, let us know. Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Board Member Opperman. Okay, with that, yes, this is going to be the last question.
I just have one really quick thing to say that's kind of echoing what Board Member Opperman just said. I think it would be useful to maybe have a little bit more student feedback. I mean, I'm speaking from a perspective at Portland High School, but maybe at every school. I think that's something that we always need to strive to have more of. But especially at Portland, I would love to see more like how do students feel about this? Or just because, I mean, kind of like Board Member Opperman was saying, it can definitely be a little intimidating to have a principal, come to the classroom and be like, all right, we have to be on our best behavior. We don't want to get into trouble. You know what I mean? So while I do really appreciate all the initiatives to do all these walkthroughs and everything, I do think it would also be useful to maybe, construct some more conversations with students about maybe during our advisory time, how does this make you feel? What are your complaints about this? Even if students only have bad things to say, it's their perspectives. So I just think that maybe that could be useful going forward.
Thank you. Awesome. And thank you all for being here tonight. Maybe we can do one more round of applause for all this. Right. So I'm going to go ahead and move us onto the report of the secretary. Yes. We have the consideration and action to approve meeting minutes of October 1st, 2024. Are there any corrections to the meeting minutes from October 1st, 2024? Okay, seeing no corrections, the minutes are approved as distributed. And then up next, we have focus on people. So we're going to get an update on 4.1.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I'm excited to welcome up our Executive Director of Equity, Barrett Wilkinson, to deliver our presentation. Again, this is another shorter update on one of our strategic initiatives this year. Again, this is one that is in the design phase, and so this is an update on where we're at this point in the year, and is not designed to be a finished product, but is an update on our status as of October. And with that, I'm going to pull up the slides as Barrett gets us started.
Thank you, Dr. Scallon. I didn't even remember to remind you, so thank you. So yes, this will be very brief as we are just getting started. And this is a very big bucket that we will be attending to throughout the this strategic plan. So Ryan, you can skip ahead one. So this is all about 4.1, which is to refine and implement a shared vision for strong and inclusive staff culture where staff are valued, affirmed, effective, and supported. So that's what I mean when I say it's a big one. You can go ahead. And we couldn't talk about this without really starting with how we kicked off the school year. These are some of my favorite photos from our welcome back event, which was not an explicit part of the strategic plan, but was really important. And it was the first opportunity we had to get some staff feedback on what they thought about, which is what I'm going to show you on the next slide. So you can go ahead. Among a number of things we asked staff about, we asked them as it related to this part of the strategic plan, what do you think we need to build a great culture in PPS? And this was a simple strongly disagree to strongly agree 5-point scale, where you can see there's most people landing between agree and strongly agree to all of the things that we kind of said, like, is it this? Is it this? Is it this? So there was high alignment around these as components. And obviously there's much more to do here, but just wanted to share that with you because this really did start with like how we brought people back. But on the next slide, you'll see the two key initiatives I just want to give you a little bit of update about is the big work to start here is that we're establishing a work group that will define a vision of excellence for adult culture across the system. And I think it's just really important that we note that we've never done that. We haven't explicitly, dug into what we want for staff culture. So we know there's room for improvement. And I'll share a little bit about some of the early themes that we're seeing, but we've never really defined what that is. So you can jump ahead, Ryan. To start the year, we recruited and created a staff work group. This is the Vision of Excellence work group. This is not the whole group, but some of them that I grabbed a selfie of at our last meeting, which was just last week. So we have about 15 people from across the district who represent different types of roles, different types of identities, different grade spans, who are coming together to participate in this. Some of them selected, we shared it at that all staff welcome back. We shared the opportunity of this particular work group and some people signed up then. And others, we did some additional kind of outreach to, folks that we knew cared about this topic and would have an investment in it. So I'm very excited about the group that's come together to do this work together. So on the next slide, you'll see just some of the themes of challenges. And, I don't know that any of this would be surprising. Some of this comes from the organizational diagnostic that was part of the strategic plan creation. Some of this comes from the work group. But really, I have the picture of silos because one of the things that I've certainly witnessed and I've heard during this kind of early stages of the work group is that, there really is a lot of siloing in the district and that maybe schools have really strong culture or people amongst their teaching teams have like a really good adult culture, but that doesn't necessarily extend to the broader district. And we know that we've had some serious systemic challenges, and so that's noted there, obviously. I think those are some of the two things. So like the district identity is sort of undefined. And so then there's a default, right? There's a default definition of what culture is, of what the norms are, of how we embody the values, and there's a lot of work to do there. And so then, of course, we have great strengths. If you would skip us ahead one more. We have tremendous strengths, which I have, again, this comes from the diagnostic as well as the work group. People are always centering students here, and they're always curious about what they can do to improve things for students and are really focused on the kids, which makes sense. That there is true innovation happening amongst teams and at certain sites, and sometimes that's siloed and sometimes it's not. The other thing that I think is a real important strength in our system is that people do have an understanding that people are coming to school, kids are coming to school, our families are getting their kids to school, with really a wide range of experiences and identities and needs. And I think staff in Portland schools really do understand that. And that the commitment among staff is really deep. This is really big, really hard work to be in education. And so it's a real strength. So all great things to be building on in our next steps, which are many, because again, this is just getting going. So the work group is going to come to having a defined vision of excellence. That's sort of the outcome from that group. And then the group is going to figure out, okay, how do we get feedback and buy-in and communicate about that? And what do we do with that, right? So all of that is to come and not yet fully defined. But alongside that is the work, I said here, like to continue to build the plane while we fly it, or some such analogy. So having some all staff events. We're continuing the We Are PPS Awards, which is our any staff to staff recognition for going above and beyond, going the extra mile kind of award. And this year, Executive Director of HR, Jennifer Slavink, and I are excited to really launch a tenure recognition. We've never really done anything like that. And it's been a goal of mine for many years, where we honor folks at like 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, like we really do a little something just to say like, wow, you've served this community for 5 years, 10 years, 40 years, whatever it is. So we're excited to be launching that too. So those are just, that's just a little bit of a touchstone on where 4.1 is at here, just at the first 6 weeks of the school year, and just some of the fun stuff that is to come.
All right. Any questions? Okay. Beautiful. Thank you for your work. I look forward to another update. Thank you so much, Barrett. Okay, so up next we have old business, which is the consideration and action to approve the contract with BerryDunn to manage reconciling of MainePERS reporting for employees and retirees prior to January 2024. As you heard at the top of the meeting, Superintendent Scallon is recommending that we table this until November 5th. So I would like to make the motion to table this until November 5th. I'm curious if there would be a second for that. Thank you, Vice Chair Bondo. Are there any questions from the board on that motion to table? Okay, I don't see any public anywhere. Any general discussion from the board? Then by roll call vote, we're going to indicate whether or not you're in favor of tabling the consideration action to approve the contract with BerryDunn to manage reconciling of the MainePERS reporting for employees and retirees prior to January 2024 to November 5th. So we're ready for you, Dr. Warren.
Member Ali?
Yes.
Member Bilyeu? Absent. Vice Chair Bondo?
Yes.
Member Bryden?
Yes.
Member Figdor?
Yes.
Member Grant?
Yes.
Member Knorr?
Yes.
Member Opperman?
Yes.
Student Representative Hayden?
Yes.
Representative Kantiba? Representative Knight? Representative McDonald?
Yes.
Representative Rosado? Representative Kunku? Chair Lentz?
Yes, so the motion to table passes with the students voting with the majority. Thank you for that. So we'll look forward to an update on that for November 5th. And then we have personnel.
Sarah?
Yes.
If I may interrupt for just 1 second, because I was late, if I could. I was supposed to circulate the signups for the constituent meetings and the student group meetings. It didn't happen last week because we had some pretty heavy stuff at the beginning of the meeting, and then I was delinquent between now and then. So if I could just take while we're doing this to circulate the sign-up sheet.
Yeah, perfect.
So apologize for being late, but I just wanted to send this around before we adjourn. So one's the
Perfect.
constituent meetings, the other one's student group meetings. So sorry to interrupt, but I wanted to get that in before.
No, I appreciate that.
Interrupt your flow.
That's okay. So now we have personnel, which is the consideration and action to approve the ed tech contract. And just wanted to take a moment to invite up Jen Cooper, if you wanted to come on up to speak to this motion.
Hi, Jen Cooper. Shana Blotner. So Ed Tech President and Vice President. I just want to say good evening, all. And after months of collaboration and hard work from both teams, we've come to an agreement. Throughout negotiations, we've listened carefully to our membership concerns and believe that the new contract addresses the priorities, issues of compensation and benefits. A major focus was to create a pay scale that both attracted new employees to the district as well as honored the longevity and immense knowledge that seasoned staff bring to our students each day. Last week, we met with our members. We shared the changes to the contract, answered any questions that they had, and then sent it to vote. And I'm excited to announce that they voted unanimously to approve this new contract. Everyone was very excited. The next step would be tonight. Here, we hope you do the same. This new contract will improve Portland's ability to hire and retain highly qualified educators and the key to continuing excellent public education in our district. We hope you approve it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jen, and for being such a great partner in this work. Love all the clapping tonight. Everybody's excited to be here. Lots of good news. So on that, do I have a motion for the consideration and action to approve the education technician contract? Sorry, all your hands coming up at the same time. I'm going to do Sarah Bryden for the first and then Board Member Opperman for the second. Any questions from the board on this contract? Is there any public comment? Okay, any general discussion from the board? Board Member Opperman, go ahead.
I'm just very pleased that we got this done reasonably well timed, and may we continue to do that.
Yes, thank you, Board Member Opperman. Vice Chair Bondo, go ahead.
Yes, that's something really close to my heart because I was one of the board member who represents the large board to the table negotiation. So I'm so glad that we come on to the resolution and the solution finally, because we're going to change the language and the narrative, the way we really believe and value of EdTech and what they do. And also, like you guys just said, and open up now doors to higher high quality of EdTech, because we really need the support into the classroom and what they do to really boost and empower our students to any capacity. So it was a really deep pleasure to meet all of them and to work around until the conclusion. So thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Bondo. And just to build on that, like Jen mentioned, I do think that this contract really sets a precedent for making a competitive entry-level salary or wage for our ed techs, but then also really compensates those that have been in the district for quite some time. So I just really appreciate that we were able to get both ends of that in this contract. And just thank you, Vice Chair Bondo, for being the board member that was involved in that as well. Yes, Board Member Figdor, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. I want to thank everyone involved. Ms. Bondo, I want to particularly recognize the superintendent for the work that I think he did personally to move this forward. Really appreciate that. I do want to say that I'm really excited about this contract. I think it makes great progress. I would have liked us to raise our salaries, our compensation for our lowest paid ed techs more. And I really am hopeful that as we move to negotiate our teacher contract next, that we will ensure that the negotiating team has representation among all of the different identities of our staff, that their tenure within the district, and also the populations of students that they serve. I think that's critical in order to ensure that all of our staff are fully represented, and very much hope that's the case as we move forward.
Thank you, Board Member Figdor. And with that, then by roll call vote, please indicate whether you are in favor of the consideration and action to approve the education technician contract. Dr. Warren, will you please call the roll? And Board Member Grant will not be voting on this.
Member Ali?
Yes.
Member Billius absent. Vice Chair Bondo?
Yes.
Member Bryden?
Yes.
Member Figdor?
Yes.
Member Grant abstains, right? Member Noor?
Yes.
Member Opperman?
Yes.
Student Representative Hayden?
Yes.
Student Representative Katiba? Student Representative Knight? Student Representative McDonald?
Yes.
Student Representative Rosado? Student Representative Kunku? Chair Lentz?
Yes. So the motion passes with Board Member Grant abstaining and the students voting with the majority. More clapping. And so I now can move to adjourn the meeting. Is there a second? Thank you, Board Member Bryden. All those in favor of adjourning, you can raise your hands. Beautiful. So we are adjourned at 7:47 p.m.